Good morning and welcome to D.I.V.E. Diversity, including various ethnicities. I am Iris Owens, your host. I am a realtor with Berkshire Hathaway, Peachtree City office. And I just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be here today. And so on the line with me today are my two beautiful co-hosts. And so I'm going to turn it over to Miss Jessica Harrison to introduce herself and say good morning.
Good morning, ladies. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Jessica Harrison. Like Miss Iris has said, I am with the Berkshire Hathaway Cascade office, and I am so elated to be here.
Thank you so much. And we are elated to have you. And good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Stephanie Henry. I am out of the Swanee office.
Yes.
And I am excited to be with you ladies today. Let's do this.
And we're excited to have you. And so we are overjoyed, elated. We are just, oh my God, I can't even explain where we are right now, but we're in the clouds, just so you all know that. And so we're going to get started today. And first, Jessica first is going to go ahead and tell you how we got to D.I.V.E.
Well, D.I.V.E. came up literally in the midst of our introductory meeting with one another.
Mm-hmm.
We were just kind of brainstorming, ladies, trying to figure out what would we call this thing that we were trying to put together. And I am big on letters and the letters meaning things. So we looked at it as D.I.V.E.,
Yes.
Diversity, including various ethnicities. Therefore, we're going to dive head first into diversity. And that's where we are today. So
Absolutely.
It kind of came out, and now literally we're here today to make it happen.
Yes, we are. And so, and I did not say in the beginning, just so for those of you tuning in with us, so D.I.V.E.'s podcast is a launch of our DEI console, which is diversity, equity, inclusion. And it is a part of our company, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And we are so happy to be able to do this. I love working for a company that doesn't just talk or just doesn't just put money behind something, but it puts everything they say into action. And we're happy to be the ones that are starting the action. So thank you very much, Berkshire Hathaway. And thank you to the enforcement for being a forward thinking and just an amazing human being. So we thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Stephanie,
Yes.
where would you like to jump in and share why you are here?
So when it comes to diversity and inclusion and financial, I'm from a poor background, and it was always something that inclusion and financial security, it's something that has always meant something, because it's just important that we know how to get there and the paths to get there. People
Absolutely.
talk it, but nobody's showing us how to do it. So
Absolutely.
that's where I want to, help people get there. I'm going to show you where you can go
Right.
and achieve.
I agree. And I think that kind of brings us to our first question, Iris. What you think?
Yes, absolutely.
What is financial literacy? For me, I'm in the Generation X millennial group. So they say. I feel like I'm an old soul, but that's neither here nor there. With that being said, I grew up in a time where my father taught me cash was king. If you did not have the cash, you did not purchase the item. So credit was not something that was instilled in me growing up, because, it was one of those things where you didn't want to owe anyone or anybody. It was always, if I don't have the cash to buy it right now, I just don't get it.
Right.
So did that hurt us? I would say yes, because we didn't get those tools that we needed to have a firm foundation when it comes to financial literacy as it pertains to credit.
Yes.
What would you ladies think about that?
I would tend to agree with you. And first, let's just let people know someone says, well, what is financial literacy? And so if you look up financial literacy in the dictionary, it's talking about being able to have the skill set, right? And those things that you need to learn how to maintain wealth, build wealth, how you garner getting credit and those sort of things. And you're absolutely right. Culturally, a lot of cultures are not taught to borrow anything, right? Because the goal is to not be in debt.
Right.
Right. But how funny is that culturally, a lot of minorities are in debt, but they're not in debt for things that have value.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
so the whole purpose of financial literacy is to learn how to manage what you do have and how to obtain more of what will give you longevity in your wealth, right?
Understood.
So that's really important. Financial literacy is like anything. It's like learning how to read, right? You want to learn the tools of what being financially strong, what that actually means.
Right.
And
So
wait, Jessica, I'm sorry. One of the things also with financial literacy, as I was growing up, everybody looks at how much money you're making now, but financial literacy also is your retirement plan. How are you going to care for yourself later in life?
Yes.
When I was being raised, everything was a life insurance policy. Nobody had the money to retire, but we had the money to possibly bury ourselves. But nobody taught the generational wealth and how to get there and how to actually teach that for the next, like you said, generational wealth, the next generation coming. We got to teach them how to save, how to retire, how to live comfortably now, how to live comfortably after you're working.
Absolutely.
It's all, I don't want to work forever. I don't know about anybody else.
Absolutely. And I think it's interesting because for me, I'm a only child, and my mother was when I say my mother could squeeze blood out of a stone, she did not play about money. My mom always said, I don't care what kind of money you make, how much or how little you make, from every paycheck, you should take $5 and put it aside. And you put it aside and you don't touch it. So nowadays that could be more. Because I look at the fact of there are times in my life where what my mother made in a career, a lifetime career, I made coming out of college. Right? But my mother had a greater savings than I because she knew how to manage her money. Yeah. She planned for, as you just said, retirement. She planned for a rainy day. And we, this, as we go forward, no one's focusing on Social Security. Most of us are not even thinking about, as we just talked about, we do want to retire, but I think we'll be more of the generation where we'll retire from the first few things we started in life. And then we'll move on to other things that we had been nurturing and building while we were working.
Right.
And I think that's how it will go. I just think, the Bible doesn't ever show that anyone retired. People were born, they worked, they died. I just really think retirement is a thing that was created by humans because we think that we are supposed to stop at some time working. Maybe so, maybe not. However, building wealth is really, really important. And you cannot have financial security if you don't know how to manage the money that you do in fact have. It just makes it hard to do.
That is a good segue into my next question.
Yes.
So if someone is like me and not, really familiar with financial literacy, how do they get started? Where would they start?
So the first step to financial literacy for me is you have to figure out where you are today.
Okay.
what are you spending your money on today? And you have to be honest with that. Every dime, it's kind of like, when you start a new workout plan or a diet plan, what do they tell you to do first?
Write down what you're eating.
Exactly. So the first step is we know how much money you make.
Right.
And there's a difference between what you make and what you bring home.
Okay.
But track where you spend. Take 30
Yes.
days and track every dime you spend. And that way you have a clear picture of where your money's going before you start making any adjustments. Because what happens is, I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to do this, but you didn't realize that Suzy Q or that ding dong that you was eating midnight, you didn't account for it. So you never, you didn't cut it out.
Right.
So when you fall, it's because you weren't honest in the beginning. So track where you're spending. That's where you start.
Because we do a lot of swiping and we don't realize when we're swiping, we're definitely not keeping track of our money. And I know, sometimes you'll say, oh my God, it's just $5. But if you're spending $5, it's like if you're a coffee connoisseur and you love Starbucks, you don't realize how much money you're spending on Starbucks in a week. Do you know how much money a cup of coffee, you spend $5 or $8 on a cup of coffee in a week? That's $70 or $80
Okay.
that
Ladies,
you could have been putting into savings.
I feel attacked, ladies.
I'm sorry. And I'm gonna make you all laugh. My daughter was just in here and she's a coffee connoisseur. And so when I said that, she opened the door back and gave me the face like, how dare you? So she feels attacked too.
I feel that, but I did exactly what Stephanie said.
Yes.
I went back and I looked over 30 days of spending to kind of see where I was spending the majority of my money.
Correct.
And it was an eye opener, to say the least. It really kind of, made me take a real good hard look at myself like,
yes,
girl, do you see how much money you're spending at Starbucks? And I then decided, okay, I'm just going to invest in a better coffee maker and drink my coffee at home. It has made a big difference.
Absolutely.
Big difference. But I didn't want to see that, Stephanie. I did not. But sometimes seeing it and seeing the number, it's a hard reality, but I had to suck it up.
Absolutely.
And I think if we would do that, we would all be able to make just minor adjustments.
And that's where it starts. You gotta make minor.
Yeah.
Yes.
Minor adjustments make a big difference. It can really be a big impact. So that's a good step.
Yes.
That's a good
and
step.
Also doing an asset inventory. Taking a look at what do I actually own and what is it worth? And that question will come up in our lives at different points in time, especially if you go to visit with a financial advisor. They will ask you, what are you worth? And you will say, what am I worth? I have no idea.
Right.
But if you own property, your property is worth, it has value. If you own a home, if you're a homeowner, if you own land, if you own stocks, it all depends on what you literally do have a portfolio.
Right.
If you own things. But most of us we're not taught that, and we don't know what that even means. Because when we hear a portfolio, we're assuming that this is some person who is a millionaire. Only people with a lot of money have portfolios. No, we can all have a portfolio. It's just a matter of managing your assets. And we have to be careful about the things that we are, as we just said, spending our money on, because sometimes culturally, some of us wear our assets on our behinds. We think that buying name brand things is the value.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, it's great to have nice things. And we all want to have nice things.
Right.
But you have to look at it from the perspective of every time I buy a pair of red bottom shoes, or I buy some Jimmy Choos, or I buy a Coach purse, that money goes to the person who is the owner of, the producer of, the marketing person of that particular product.
Right.
Now, here's something that I think a lot of us don't know. When you buy assets, though, that have value, that makes it different, because now that's an investment.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
No, jump in.
One of the things with you mentioned the name brands. So I have an 18-year-old who's going off to college, and we were sitting down, and everybody's into the name brand phenomenal, and we had a conversation about a book bag. He wants this name brand book bag. And I'm like, you have this much money, you can buy that book bag. Or you can take that money and you can, buy a cheaper book bag, look just as good, and then you have money left over. The name brand, to me, what I was trying to teach him is the name brand, you're paying to wear the name brand, but you're the one making the name brand look good, not the name brand making you look good.
Right.
So I want him to advertise for himself, not for that name.
Right.
Understood.
So, that's how, even though the name brand is good, is it making you any money?
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like an example that I gave a couple girlfriends of mine a few weeks ago. We were just having a similar conversation, and we came up with, I would prefer to have a purse where I put $3,000 in it.
That's it.
Versus paying $3,000 for it,
and I don't have $3
money to put in it. Exactly. And so, and that Absolutely. Was, and I use that as the example, that I give my daughter. She's just 13, but we're getting into those things. And I'm like, you would prefer to have more money to put in the item versus spending on the item. Right. And, sometimes you have to bring it, down to their level, them to understand it, like, oh, that does make sense.
Yes.
She is right. So, because if you spend all your money to get whatever the item is, do not come back asking me for more money. Yes. So that makes sense. But my next big thing is for someone who doesn't even know what their credit looks like. Like starting with getting a hold of your credit. So this is something that I even tell, potential clients of mine. This is an initial, conversation, like, well, what does your credit look like? Oh, I really don't know. Well, that's where we have to start. You need to know what your credit looking like. There are plenty of platforms that offer free credit reports. Pull your credit report, because sometimes there's some things on your credit that we didn't even know was on there.
Absolutely.
They may not even be yours.
Right.
Things happen. We've seen some crazy things happen.
Yes.
So how important?
That's very important.
How important is the credit score?
Right. But what is credit?
Okay.
Let's start there. What is credit?
See, I think we need to start before that.
Okay.
I think before you talk about the credit, you need to talk about what you make versus what you bring home.
Okay.
Okay.
So you net versus gross is what we talking about?
Net versus gross.
Oh, come on, Stephanie.
Everybody like to say, I make 6 figures.
Yeah, but do you see 6 figures?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Financial literacy. See,
see how they all connect.
Yes.
How they all connect.
So Stephanie, tell us what does that mean? What's the difference between those two terminologies, and what does it mean for us, financially?
Right.
So financially, okay, so I always get them mixed up, so don't judge. Your net is what you actually make. Nope.
Gross.
Gross is what you actually make. So you have a job, or as entrepreneurs, we make this much money. So if you make $100,000, your job is paying you $100,000 to do the job, but that's not what you're bringing home.
Correct.
So when you're spending, you can't spend $100,000 because Uncle Sam gonna get his. If you have any obligations and things like, your taxes, they're gonna come out of that. Your health insurance, they're gonna come out of that.
Yes.
We need to start looking at what your paychecks, what you're actually bringing home, what you're actually contributing to the household.
Yes.
And that's the difference. Let's start counting what we actually bring in the door and not what we actually make.
Right.
So gross is what your company pays you.
Right.
Net
Is
is
what
gross minus any obligations, be it taxes, medical, dental, things of that nature, what you actually bring home.
Absolutely.
And that's net, correct?
that's nets.
Okay.
Yes.
So now that we know what our net is,
Mhm.
where do we go from there? Because now I make 6 figures,
Mhm.
but once I get my check or monthly, I'm only seeing, let's say, $5,000 a month,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So now, do I spend all 5,000? Where do I break that 5,000 up? I know we have, you need shelter, of course, and things of that nature. How much of that should we be saving?
So based on when I was raised, and goes back to where my disconnect was at one time.
Okay.
They always said 50-50, spend, save. But nobody ever told me that, 50% of your household budget should be required. Food, roof over your head, transportation. Yeah, everybody still has the name brand and the luxury transportation, but those things, you have to have a job. You have to have transportation to get to your job.
Yes.
That should account for 50% of your income. And this all does tie into credit, so this is the basis of what our credit is, what we actually make versus how much debt we have.
Right. Debt ratio.
Right.
Debt to income ratio. Yeah.
Debt to income ratio. So if 50% is our essentials, right?
Mhm.
Then the other 50%, well, you got to have clothing and things like that. So, you should have a budget for that, and then you save the rest. So that 50-50, 50 is your essential. The other 50, I do a 30-10-5-5.
Okay.
So 30% for my clothes, 10%, well, 5 of it I invest
Mm-hmm.
in the stock market or because I don't want to work forever. So
Or in yourself. And so when you're investing in yourself, that's what it means to invest in yourself. You're putting money away or into something that's building additional wealth.
Right. I have a rainy day fund, because the car going to break down.
Yes.
Something's going to happen.
Right. The refrigerator is going to go out.
Right. And then the other 10% is kind of like, if I can't entertain off of that, then I don't need to entertain. I need to sit my tail at home.
Right. Right.
But I am going to do my investing in me first and my rainy day fund. So
Here is my take on that, because I feel like in this day and age, it may actually be a little more than 50-50, because I'm just thinking of the rental market, for example, in the rental market right now, for most rental places, you have to make 3 times the rent.
Yes.
So if you have to make 3 times the rent, we are already way into that 50%.
Yes.
Because I make 3 times the rent doesn't mean I have to spend every penny of that 3 times the rent.
Now that's true, but minimum, let's say you're bringing $5,000 home a month, minimum, you qualify for about a $1,600 rental.
Mm-hmm.
So if we bring it home 5,000, half of 5,000 is 2,500, 1,600 is already gone.
Yep. That is correct.
So now, each person, what the point that I'm trying to make is each individual has to break it down based on themselves, because
Exactly.
everybody's circumstances is different.
Yes.
And we understand that. And of course, you're going to pay a little more to live in a closer to your job, location, whatever the case may be. You may have to sacrifice and pay a little bit more, whatever it may be, but then you have to take that away from somewhere else, right? Kind of offset. So it all boils back down to the financial literacy and being able to see where your money is going, making sure that those things that are higher on your priority list are those that are getting the most attention.
Correct.
Versus shelter versus clothing.
Mhm.
Shelter is a little more of a higher priority for me.
Yes.
So I'm gonna pay, I'm willing to pay a little more for
More
shelter.
money. Yeah, to invest more in that.
For clothing and things of that nature. So each individual needs to look at what their priorities are and budget their net income based on that list. That's what I'm getting from you, Steph. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And as you're doing that, remember, later on, we'll tie it into how that affects your credit.
Mhm. Okay.
And
I can see how this conversation can keep going, because it's layers on layers and it builds.
absolutely.
And
I think that there could be a whole conversation on learning how to live on the net, right? Because that's not where most of us start. As you stated earlier, we start with, I make six figures.
Mhm.
I make $100,000, and that's how I budget, not factoring in that I am not bringing home $100,000.
Exactly.
Right? I have to back out all of those, the taxes and insurance and all those things, to look at a realistic number, because honestly, that is how the credit and a lender looks at your money.
Mhm.
When we say, yes, I make $100,000, there's absolutely no reason why I can't afford a $400,000 house. But there very well could be reasons why, because the lender looks at all of the other debt that you have that could potentially prohibit you from being able to keep up with this new debt that you're taking on, right? Because when we said earlier, what is credit? So credit is the ability for an individual to be able to purchase or obtain goods and services without making payment. With the lender or whomever is who you're borrowing from, with the anticipation that you will pay this money back, in time. But also, credit means that, yes, I'm borrowing this money, but this money comes with interest rate.
Comes with a cost.
Absolutely comes with a cost. So it's just like if you're a new home buyer, and you're looking to purchase a home. This is why all the questions are asked when someone says, well, do you know your credit score?
Right.
You say, I don't. You need to know your credit score.
Right.
You need to know all three of your credit scores. That's TransUnion, Equifax, and who am I leaving out? TransUnion, Equifax. I'm leaving out. What is it?
You leaving it out. Listen.
Oh my gosh. It just went right out of my head. TransUnion, Equifax, and
I can't even help you. Hold on.
Oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Okay, while she's looking, I'm gonna keep talking. So there are three different credit unions. TransUnion. Thank you. TransUnion, Equifax, and what? Oh my God, that's crazy. Okay, see guys, this is live TV. You see, live radio. So there are three different sources of where our credit comes from.
Right.
And so you always have to remember that when someone's looking at your credit, that's where they start. When you go to borrow money or you go to make a large purchase, they pull your credit for the purpose of seeing how much credit you have, how you handle the credit that you've taken out, that whether you're paying it on time. So even when we say, oh, Experian. Thank you. And that is typically the top. So Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. Thank you. Those credit sources monitor how much credit you've taken, how you pay it back, whether you pay it back on time, how you manage the credit. In other words, even if you have a credit card, let's say you have a credit card, you have 3 credit cards, you have one for $3,000, one for $10,000, and another one for $50,000. And you say, okay, I'm going to take this $50,000 card and I'm going to take care of all the things I need to do. So now you have exhausted that level of credit to 100%, which meaning you have maxed out that level of credit. A lender sees that as you not being responsible.
Red flag.
Red flag. You spent every bit of your credit source. And if you start to do that with every other credit card you have, no one's going to lend you money, even if you're paying your bills on time.
True.
And even when you're paying it on time, you need to pay more than the minimum amount that they're asking for.
So that's what we call utilization.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Your utilization is basically scored. It's a part of your credit profile. How much credit you have, how you're utilizing that credit, if you're paying back your debts, when you're paying back your debts, and how you pay it back, right? Now, there was a time when people would say, if you pay your credit cards off, make it 0. Don't do that. Because nowadays, when you pay off your credit cards and you take it to 0 and you don't use it, they close your account.
Or decrease it.
Or they decrease your, and why would that happen, right? Because you would think, I'm being responsible with my credit. The whole point of, that's why it's called revolving credit.
It's to continue using.
It has to continue moving.
And it makes sense. So
right?
What I've learned over time in reference to utilization, it is best to stay in what they call that sweet spot.
Yes.
Which is under 30%.
Absolutely.
So you have $100,000 credit limit.
Yes.
You stay under 30,000.
That's right.
Right. And that is what they call that sweet spot.
Yes.
So that it helps in reference to the credit score and keeping it there. But then you mentioned something that I heard that I was once. Listen, y'all got me out here being transparent on this camera. Listen,
you have to be. You have to be, because this is the only way you can help someone if you're transparent.
Right. I feel seen, Iris. I feel seen.
You are. We see you.
So it's like I would use it, and then I'm looking at the bill like, oh, I only have to pay $25.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Come on. That's all y'all asked for. That's what I'm gonna give you.
Right.
And then I noticed that my balance was not going down.
Absolutely. Because those interest rates are continuing to interest is calculating every day.
I learned the hard way. I did. I learned the hard way. And I'm glad that we're able to use this platform so that others can learn from our mistakes.
Yes.
And we don't necessarily have to make the same.
Avoid the pitfalls.
Yes. Even though it says minimum payment of $25.
Right.
Pay more than the minimum. Pay what you can.
Yes.
But pay more than the minimum if you're able.
Yes.
It makes a big difference.
And you know what I love? So now, excuse me, growing up for me, my first credit card I remember was an American Express card. I was a freshman in college because colleges come for you. Right? Not colleges, the financial institutions come for you when you become a student in college.
Yes.
Because first of all, they know you're broke, which doesn't make any sense why they would give a freshman, any college student, the ability to charge anything except your appliances and your phone. Because I have no money. And most times I have no idea. Do you know how many times, and this is going to sound crazy, but I want people, when people say, well, yeah, I used the card, but I didn't realize I had to pay it back.
Oh, yeah. It's not free money.
It's not free money. And it comes with a cost, as we said earlier, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember having this American Express card, and American Express, like always, you charge it. They want their money in 30 days. We can close a house in 30 days. They want all your money that you spent back. They want it back in 30 days. Mm-hmm. So if you decide, I'm going to charge my trip to Aruba on this American Express card before mom and dad finds out, or before my husband or my wife finds out, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to charge it and we'll be good. I'm going to have the money when I come back. And then something happens and you don't have the money. Mm-hmm. What do you do? Right? What do you do? Well, first, you need to contact that lender. You need to have a conversation. Hiding from your creditors is not the move. It creates havoc in your life, right? It's like running from a ghost. Like you're peeking like, oh my God, what do they put in the post box? What do they put in that mailbox? Oh my God. Or your phone's ringing. Are you planning to pay that bill today? Or how would you like to handle that today? You're like, I can't handle anything. I don't have any money. But this is why credit is so important. Mm-hmm. Think about it. If it wasn't that important, people wouldn't chase you about it. Right. If it wasn't that important, people wouldn't your credit is like your representative before someone ever meets you.
I like that.
Think about it that way. When every time you sign your name on a dotted line to say, I'm going to borrow this money, or I'm going to finance this item, or I'm going, it's your representative. Because every time someone pulls your credit, it's like a dating app. They swipe left and they're like, oh, wow, you've been on a lot of dates. and you didn't finish any of them. You ran out on every date. You left the person hanging on every date. Think about it.
Right.
And I'm using humor so that you can woosah through. Right. Credit is a serious thing, y'all. And without it, it prevents you from obtaining the things. As Jessica said earlier, a lot of us were raised with cash is king. Mm-hmm. But cash is not king, because when you go to make that purchase of your first home, yes, if you have cash, God bless you. But if you don't, you have to finance it.
Right.
If you want to buy a car, if you don't have the cash, you have to finance it. If you need a refrigerator and your refrigerator goes out, if you don't have the cash, you have to finance it. Credit is everything. Cash is wonderful, but credit is still everything.
And it also allows you the opportunity to save or hold on to your cash,
right,
for those things that you won't be able to finance.
Exactly.
Where finance is not an option. This gives you a little wiggle room, because you have established good credit. You're able to finance things, be able to save or hold on to the cash, and then be able to move accordingly as you see fit.
Right.
Again, it was a learning curve.
Yes. And it is for everybody. And regardless of, like Stephanie said, she grew up poor, right? The truth is, whether you grow up poor, whether you grow up rich, whether you grow up, because the truth is, the way we grow up with money, believe it or not, it defines how you see money. And it doesn't mean just because if I grew up rich, it doesn't mean I respect money. Because I grew up poor or middle class or wherever I am on the spectrum, if I don't have respect for money, I'm always going to be broke. I'm always going to be broke because I don't respect it.
Mm.
I haven't processed it. I don't give it the respect that it deserves, which is I have to not love it, not make it, put it on a pedestal. I just need to know how to manage it.
Exactly.
Because if I don't manage it, it manages me.
Exactly. Exactly.
So that's really important.
That's the most important thing of this entire discussion. Being able to manage our finances
Absolutely.
across the board so that it's not managing us.
Absolutely.
I want to, work to live, not live to work,
Okay.
So once you get that mindset and have control over your finances and
Yes.
have the financial literacy and able to obtain and create and maintain generational wealth,
Yes.
it places you on in such an arena where one, you're able to breathe. You're
Absolutely.
not feeling like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders because you're always having to think about the next bill that needs to be paid.
Yes.
Where it allows you to live stress-free.
Yeah. Living paycheck to paycheck, and that's not a good feeling.
Oh, that's a stressful situation to put oneself in.
And believe it, people who have millions of dollars, they live paycheck to paycheck too.
Yeah.
If you're not managing it,
it's still managing you.
Exactly. Right. It's still managing you.
Yes. I completely get it. I completely get it. So now that we've learned that credit is important.
Yes.
We know where to start, pulling our credit report and seeing what's on there and talking to those professional individuals live. You hear the phone ringing?
Yes. It's live. This is life.
So, but having that type of situation in place, now we go from that to how do we maintain the credit once we got into that point?
Right.
How do we maintain it?
Right. So I would say you need to, like Stephanie said, budgeting, very, very important. Okay. Everyone needs to have a budget. I don't care how much money you make or don't make, you need a budget because you still have to manage the money that you have. That which you have to manage it. If you come into, let's just say, that's another thing, right? When we get income tax returns or we get someone passes away and we get an inheritance and we get, the first thing most people do, I'm buying a new car. Okay. Oh. And sometimes people will say I'm gonna buy a house, but that's normally not where people first go. No. I'm going on a shopping spree. I'm going to go on the trip that I always wanted to go on. Right. Managing our money means prioritizing the things in life in which we need to handle first before we go and have fun, if that makes sense.
Take care of business first.
Take care of business. Pay yourself first. Right? As Stephanie said, saving your money, budgeting your money, taking care, looking at your debt. Look, you have to figure out how to manage that money because if not, it's just like look at the number of people, prime example, number of people who win the lottery and end up being poor than they were before they won the lottery. Yeah. That says something because you didn't know how to manage it.
One of the things about managing money to me, where I'm at in my life now, is whenever you get a windfall, an extra, why don't we come up with the way to take that windfall and figure out how I can make this windfall keep windfalling?
Oh, yes, Stephanie. Absolutely.
How can I take this money and put it somewhere where I keep making money off of it?
While I'm sleeping, baby.
Because we got to make our money work for us.
Yes.
Now I've earned my 6 figures.
Yes. Absolutely.
My income tax check was $2,000. I used to call that my savings account.
Yes.
So I can now, once you get that money, that $2,000 that you saved, because the government didn't give you anything.
Sure, you worked for
That
that.
was your money. So when they give you that money, you had already learned to live without it.
Right.
Correct.
So why don't we take that and put it in a vehicle that is going to keep earning something? I don't know anything about no Bitcoins and all of that,
things like that.
but maybe put it in a savings account and say, you know what? Uncle Jack died and he left me 50,000. Well, to buy a house, I need 75,000. Let me set this 50 here,
Right.
get 25 more.
Right.
Then I can buy that house. And
Right.
now I'm growing my money.
Right.
I can rent that out.
Yes.
Just invest.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how we're going to maintain.
Making the money work for you.
Yes.
Make the money work for you.
Making
However that is.
And one of the best things you could do is seek a financial advisor.
Yeah.
Seek a financial advisor. Seek a financial planner. Seek someone who knows about money. And
Right.
here's a message. Do not talk to people about money that you have to people who do not have money.
I was going to say, Cousin Ray Ray ain't the one.
Do not discuss with people about money with people who do not have money.
That's good.
Okay. Always seek an expert when it comes to what should I do with this money.
Right.
Miss Stephanie made a great point. When we get extra, the overflow, put the overflow so that it continues, like she said. What did you say, Stephanie? I love what you said.
Overflowing.
No, right. But
The
what you call the rainfall, the windfall, keep falling. I love that. I love that. I love that. That's the word for it going forward.
Yes. Make the windfall keep windfalling. I like it, Stephanie. I like it.
I love it. That's something to keep in my suitcase. And then, when next time when I'm ready to buy those next pair of shoes, it'd be like, put that back.
Right.
And so that's the other part. When we are working towards a goal, we really have to learn how to sacrifice.
Okay.
I think that's the other thing. We don't know how to, or I'm not even going to say we don't know how to. We refuse to sacrifice when we're working toward a goal, i.e., we're all realtors, right? How many times do we have to have that conversation with clients? Once you go under contract, don't buy nothing. Nothing.
Don't apply for credit. Don't do anything.
Nothing. And then, have you ever experienced the person who drives up the day of the closing in a new car? Wait, what? New truck.
Tell me this is your mama car.
I had one that had to, I had to furnish the house.
Can we get the house first?
Yes.
Get the keys.
I have told people, I don't care if the whole entire rooms to go is 95% on sale. You buy nothing, right? Other than your daily expenses. And hey guys, this is a tip right here about once you are under contract for a home, you are not out of the weeds. No. Because here comes the key word. They check your credit again right before you close. And if you don't look the same way you looked when you applied for that loan and they approved you for that loan and you went under contract, guess what? That house will not be yours.
Right. Right.
They will rescind that money because you are no longer a worthy borrower to be able to buy this house that you were approved for.
Right. Right.
So it's like, and if you look at it this way, it's the beginning of the discipline of becoming a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which means look at how much house you're trying to buy. All that comes into play because when people call us and say to us, I want a 3-bedroom. No. I want a 5-bedroom.
Thank you.
3.5 bath on a basement I want a gourmet kitchen, and I want all the bells and whistles, and I want a 3-car garage, and I want a pool in the backyard.
On
Okay.
an acre lot in the cul-de-sac.
Yes.
The door needs to be facing west.
Right. And I want a gated community. And I want to be able to walk to all the stores. Okay.
And what's the budget, Iris?
And I say, oh, wonderful, awesome. Okay, I got it. And you're already pre-approved? Absolutely. Okay, wonderful. What are you approved for? $275. What do I say? But then I have to say, honestly,
right,
you're not going to get that with that budget. You're not.
I always ask them, where have you seen it?
Oh, they've seen it. They've seen it. Oh, yeah. They've seen it because they were in someone else's home.
Right.
They didn't see it in terms of doing their homework to see how much something like this actually costs. Right.
Right.
So
my next question, which of these items are must-have? Because we got to narrow this list down.
Well, there comes sacrifice.
And sacrifice is uncomfortable.
Yes, it is. Very uncomfortable, right? And a lot of times the sacrifice, or when you have that conversation, that's the wake-up call. Because sometimes maybe you can't buy it right now. But if you go back and you start to work on reducing your debt, right? You're not buying any more things that you don't need, right? You very well may be able to purchase that home with what you have sacrificed, right?
Right.
But,
or
sometimes
give them another option, right?
Yes.
And the other option can be, we may not be able to get that with this budget right now.
Absolutely.
But with this budget, we can get this.
Right.
And what I've learned, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I'm more of the newer realtor out of us three. People look to real estate, especially when they're first-time home buyers.
Yes.
They look to real estate and they think that they're about to buy their forever home.
Absolutely.
And that's not.
No. Especially in this market.
Right. No. And that's the mentality. So you're thinking, I have to check all of these boxes.
Yes.
And that's why when I have my buyer's consult, I have this question where I ask, what? You've given me all of the wants. You've given me everything that you want. What is the must-have? What is the deal breaker for you?
Yes.
Because those are the things that I have to prioritize as a realtor to find you what would be suitable for you and your family.
Right.
And once we have that conversation, because it's a hard conversation to have.
It is.
It's a hard pill to swallow. But once we have that conversation and we're realistic about what our budget can get us, we have to make the sacrifice. No, you're not going to be able to have that pool. No, you may not have 5 bedrooms. You may have 3.
Right.
No, you may not be able to be in a cul-de-sac, but you're in the community. You don't have a private pool, but the community has a pool. You know, it's like, it's a give or take type situation, but sacrifice. I don't like sacrifice. So I know it's hard. I know it's hard for other people.
Yes.
But sometimes we have to get uncomfortable.
Yes. To get comfortable.
To get comfortable.
Yes. That's very true. I love that. Stephanie?
You know, the forever home thing, that's another generational thing. Well, my grandmother's always had, she's always lived in that same house.
Correct.
And what I tell them is, I can find your forever home, but you need it to be able to last forever. So grandma has kept her home. She's made some updates. She's made some changes. She's made that a home. She might have had 4 kids in a 2-bedroom because she made that sacrifice.
With 1 bathroom.
And she was okay with that.
That's right.
So, because I do have a client that's looking for the forever home. And they understand that forever home,
Yes,
it's for today,
yes. And maybe for the next 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
in 5 years, your credit will look better. But more so, when our grandparents and our parents grew up, they bought a set of furniture. It stayed the entire time they lived in that home.
It's still there.
And it's still there, right? People did not move. People did not shift from if you got bored with the furniture, then if you were that person who was a decorator in heart, then you rearrange the furniture every, few months or every year, or you buy new curtains or whatever. Nowadays, we get tired of a home. We want to move.
Mhm.
We literally want to move. I have a family member who, why'd you move? I needed a change. My. Paint, rearrange furniture. Any of those things could suffice. But some people just don't. And in this generation now, everything is instant, right? Because what I have walked into, what I was able to touch, I believe I am due it. I want it right now. I want it right now.
Mhm.
Just think about, if we look at the fact that millennials, generation Gen Z, are buying homes, $500,000 homes on their first buy.
What?
Yeah. On the first buy.
I know.
Right? That's crazy. My grandparents bought a house and owned land that they bought in 1941. The house is no longer there, but the land is now mine. People have said to me, you could sell it. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. First of all, God's not making any more land.
No, can't get more land.
There's no more coming. There's no more of that coming. But imagine the sacrifice that our parents, grandparents, when they bought a house, do you imagine that? And a house that may have cost $20,000, what they had to sacrifice to buy a home for $20,000. And now today, there are people who are straight out of college with the ability, the buying power to buy a home for $500,000 or upwards of more.
Right.
But the question still becomes, when you're making those decisions and you're making that kind of investment, are you prepared to keep it? That's the difference between having financial literacy, having your plan in place, versus I have this money right now and I make $100,000 attitude, and buying a house and then realizing, oh, the house needs maintenance.
And it costs.
A storm came through and took the whole entire roof off of your beautiful $500,000 home. And your insurance company says, we're not paying for it. Your plumbing goes down. And maybe it was something that your insurance, again, won't cover. There's just so many factors that come into place that could deplete all that money you thought you had.
Right.
So when you're making this type of major investment, again, the first investment may not be, it's not the forever.
Right.
Because remember, as you get older and you grow, your mindset changes about your money. It changes about where you live. It changes about, because now we all want to work, live, play. Ooh.
Right.
We all want to work, live, play. And there's going to be a time soon where you'll be like, I don't want to work. I want to live, and I'm going to choose when I want to play.
Right.
Yeah. That will not be the neighborhood that you bought that beautiful, what you thought was the forever home in, most times.
Yeah.
Because you bought that with a completely different type of mindset. Right. So yeah, sacrifice is necessary when you're buying that first home.
I think that's the That's the word of the day. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice for the
Right.
credit, sacrifice, budgeting is a
Yes.
sacrifice.
Yes.
Sacrifice is the word of the day. I think
Yes.
that is the key nugget for today's topic.
Absolutely.
Sacrifice.
I think it has been. Ladies, this has been amazing.
I've had
And for all of our guests that will be viewing and tuning in, we hope that we gave you some nuggets of knowledge. And so when you are starting that journey to buy a home, you know that first there's someone out here to help you.
right.
There's someone out here to help you. Hence the reason I'm going to put, this is not even a shameless plug. This is why you need to work with a licensed realtor
Yes.
Most
so that they can walk you through the process of buying a home.
definitely.
And they help you stay on track. And they
Yes.
help you navigate these difficult, uncomfortable, sometimes situations,
Yes.
right? So that's really important. But we really hope that you garnered some information with regards to financial literacy, that you have a better understanding what that means, that you have a better understanding of why and how you maintain, improve, obtain credit and financial literacy. So if you all have any questions, you will be able to reach each of us via our DEI Council website initially. And we will share that information at the end. And we just really hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Jessica, thank you so much. Stephanie, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure to be with you ladies today, and looking forward to us going forward and diving headfirst into diversity.
Yes.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Bye.